Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are going to peel back the cinematic curtain and discover exactly how those silent, moving images on your screen are magically brought to life. If you've ever found yourself wondering why movies sound just so undeniably crisp, detailed, and completely immersive, well, you are definitely in the right place. We're going to explore the invisible art form that makes those cinematic worlds you love feel completely, totally real. I want you to take a second and really listen in your mind to your absolute favorite movie. Think about the heavy boots crunching on gravel, a coffee cup being set down on a glass table, or maybe the heavy thud of a closing door. I mean, they sound perfectly natural, right? Well, I am here to completely shatter the illusion for you. Many, if not most, of those everyday sounds were rarely, if ever, recorded during the actual filming of the scene. Instead, they were meticulously recreated entirely from scratch. This obsessive recreation process actually has a name: Foley. It's named after a pioneer in the industry, Jack Foley, and it is the art of recording everyday sounds in sync with the picture after filming has finished. But you might be wondering, why do they even do this? Why not just use the audio from the set? Well, actually, scratch that. You can't really use it because film sets are incredibly loud, chaotic places. There are buzzing lights, crew members moving around, directors yelling out directions, the whole shebang. So instead of relying on that messy, noisy on-set audio, Foley artists recreate these exact actions in a highly controlled studio environment. This gives filmmakers audio that is significantly cleaner, far more expressive, and precisely tailored to the emotion of the scene. So, how does this actually come together? Building a finished scene is a fascinating step-by-step journey. It always begins with the on-screen movement, meaning the video is already shot and completely locked in. Then, the Foley artist stands in a studio, watches the video playback, and physically performs the sound to perfectly match the action. Once they've recorded it, that new audio is synced to the editing timeline. They make absolutely sure the sound hits at the exact millisecond the action happens. And finally, we get the finished scene, where that newly recorded audio is seamlessly layered into the world of the film. To really wrap our heads around this magic, we need to break it down into three foundational pillars. We've got footsteps, cloth movement, and props. Virtually every single recreated sound you hear falls into one of these three buckets. So let's dive into each of them, starting with what is arguably the most crucial one. Section 1. Footsteps, dictating pacing, mood, and surfaces. Let's see how this works. Beyond just the feet, we have cloth movement. And yes, even the absolutely smallest shift of a jacket matters. Think about it. Every time we move, our clothes make a sound. Sleeves rubbing, fabric stretching, a leather jacket shifting, or maybe a heavy backpack settling onto someone's shoulders. Now, this might seem like a super trivial detail, but without these subtle, continuous sounds of cloth movement, characters feel strangely disconnected from their environment. Without it, they feel almost like ghosts just floating through a scene, rather than physical beings occupying actual space. And finally, we have props, because objects tell stories too. In the Foley world, props means absolutely everything a character physically touches. We are talking about a heavy book closing, a ceramic cup being set on a desk, a set of keys dropping, a door handle turning, or even just the simple click of a pen. Rather than trying to somehow isolate the sound of a notebook closing from the noisy original camera recording, Foley artists just recreate these exact interactions. It gives the filmmaker ultimate clarity and complete control over exactly how loud and how impactful that object is in the final mix. So the absolutely crucial takeaway here is that Foley is not just about making noise, it is a synchronized performance. This is exactly why the people who do this are called Foley artists. Unlike simply standing at a microphone and banging two things together, Foley is highly, highly performative. The artist has to watch the scene on a large screen and physically recreate each movement with pinpoint timing. If the actor on screen is walking slowly and hesitantly, the Foley artist has to mirror that exact hesitation. If the character breaks into a sudden panicked sprint, the rhythm and intensity of the Foley has to change instantly. Good Foley matches not just the physical action, but the underlying emotion of the actor. Professional Foley artists are basically audio illusionists, and they often use some pretty bizarre everyday items to get the job done. For example, a heavy pouch of cornstarch perfectly mimics the crunch of deep snow. Coconut shells? They deliver that classic clip-clop of horse hooves. And for those intense, gritty action scenes, simply snapping a fresh stalk of celery creates the sickening crunch of breaking bones. The golden rule here is that the goal isn't realism in the physical object, it's realism in the resulting sound. Section 2. The impact. Let's compare original audio versus Foley. To really feel this impact, let's set a scene. Imagine a student walking into a totally quiet classroom. In version A, where we're relying only on the raw camera audio, you hear muffled, flat footsteps. The world just feels lifeless. But then look at version B, where Foley is applied. Suddenly, you hear the hard scrape of the chair, the heavy thump of the notebook hitting the desk, the crisp click of a pen. The Foley literally transforms an empty, boring room into a rich, believable reality. But pulling this off, it requires a master's touch. A really common beginner mistake is recording Foley without actually watching the video while you do it. That causes the sounds to fall completely out of sync with the visual movement on screen. Beginners also tend to make props overly loud, or they forget that different surfaces require totally different types of footsteps. In contrast, pro-realism is defined by meticulously accurate timing. It features natural object handling that actually matches the weight of the item on screen and absolute accuracy when matching surface sounds to the environment. You always match the sound to the action and to the world the character lives in. Which leads us to a pretty profound insight about this whole art form. Great Foley disappears into the story. It's the ultimate paradox of the Foley artist's job. A major blockbuster film contains thousands upon thousands of these recreated sounds, yet the vast majority of audiences will never, ever realize they are listening to recreated audio. And honestly, that is exactly the role. Great Foley makes every single movement feel completely authentic without ever calling attention to itself. It serves the narrative entirely invisibly. So as we wrap up this explainer on the incredible, invisible art of Foley sound, I want to leave you with a bit of a challenge. Armed with this brand new understanding of footsteps, cloth movement, and props, what recreated sounds are you going to notice the next time you sit down to watch a movie? The next time you see a character sprint across gravel or toss a set of keys onto a counter, I want you to listen closely. You are hearing the perfectly synchronized performance of an invisible artist. Thanks for joining me to explore the magic of film sound today, and hey, keep your ears open.